You've maxed out your 401k, you're contributing to an IRA, and making some other investments. Where do you go from here? Get a fresh perspective from an agent with the backing of New York Life. Insurance, retirement, and more. Visit NYL.com.
With something like 5 million podcasts, finding a really good one can take a ton of time. So let me recommend one. It's called Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and in each episode, we discuss topics that can be really helpful, like how to read people better, the psychology of crowds, or fun things like the story of Legos, or why you probably wouldn't be here if it weren't for horses. Something You Should Know is the name of it, wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to the desert of the real.
Hello and welcome to a very special mini episode. I say mini episode. I'm here with Joe Screbbles. We may go on for an hour here about The Matrix Resurrections.
I think we should have started with a breaking podcasts. We're here to shit on a movie.
Yeah. If you haven't heard, Matrix Resurrections is out. We're dropping this on the day of its release. Highly
Sorry,
anticipated
Matrix
film.
Resurrections. Sorry in advance.
Yeah. We're going to do like 5 minutes of non-spoiler chat here.
Yeah.
Just in case you want to know what our initial impressions are before we sound the Matrix siren and delve deep into what really does make this one of the worst films I've ever seen. I'm not afraid of saying that.
It's
appalling.
I think like the reason we're doing this is not just for the the negative the catharsis that we'll get.
It's a lot I
from
need to
talking
get out here.
Genuinely, like, I mean, The Matrix is probably the most important movie in my entire life, and I would say it's similar for a lot of our listeners. I would say The Matrix Resurrections for IGN type people it must be one of the most anticipated films in the last few years.
It's one of the most important films ever made. That's not like hyperbole or anything. It is such an important film.
I'm sitting in front of a Ghanaian Matrix poster. That's how much it means to me. I will hang Ghanaian Matrix merchandise in my house. Yeah.
This new one, though, The Matrix 4, is not only is it bad, and we wouldn't just normally talk about a film that's bad for a long time, it's worth seeing just because it's so fascinating as to what a mess it is and what it, somewhere in there, what it could have been.
Yeah, like I think this is the thing we've both discussed. Like, so we should say we saw this a couple of weeks ago. Was it 2 weeks?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at least.
So we've been sitting with these thoughts for a long time. So I think our recollection, if hopefully when we start the spoilers, you have seen this movie. And if you haven't, then you don't care. We're not going to be super coherent about events. We're not going to be doing this beat by beat. But we are going to be talking about the points we think are important. And I think the recurring theme that we've had in talking about it is I think we liked it to different levels. Both disliked it. But I think I was more interested in it than you were.
No, I found it quite dull for about 2/3 of it. And
Yeah.
we've given it IGN official score as a 4 out of 10, which is exactly what I would have given it when I walked out. I was like, that's a 4 out of 10 film. I think you were maybe slightly warmer. You maybe would have stretched to a 5.
I would. 4, I think, is fair. I think the only reason I wouldn't give it a 4 is because I gave Men in Black International a 4, and that is a worse movie than this.
Okay, so I've never seen that.
But I think I certainly don't have a problem with it. But I think. Yeah. But like you say, I think the interesting thing, the constant chat we've had is no matter how much we disliked it, Matrix Resurrections has some ideas that it's not even other people's hands, in like a different version of Lana Wachowski's hands might have been really cool.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's like it picks up a ball and runs with it and falls over and throws it up its own arse about 6 times throughout this movie. Like, it just keeps dropping the ball in more and more spectacular
baffling
ways.
Choice after baffling choice. Like, for the first half an hour or so of this film, I was like, this is bonkers, slightly irritating, but if they commit to this, it could be, I'd at least give them credit for going, you've done something bonkers, and I'm here for it. Except they quickly just go, okay, yeah, ignore all that. We're going back to what the Matrix always was.
Yes, yes. And I think with that in mind, you've gotten a sense of our feeling on this. We're going to give this as a last chance.
It's hard to not spoil this to talk about it.
This is your last chance to leave before we start spoiling this movie. So, after the sound of Zach De La Rocha shouting, "Wake up," we will continue with a spoiler-filled chat of The Matrix Resurrections. Take it away, Zach. Thank you, Zach.
That's a good song, and right. Why don't we?
Let's begin at the end.
Song. Why don't we? Yeah, let's begin right at the very end. Not only do they recycle the ending of the first film by playing "Wake Up" by Rage Against the Machine, it's not even "Wake Up" by Rage Against the Machine. It's a cover. Why use a cover? I know there's reasons. There's big theme reasons as to why they've changed it. Just do a different song.
That's it. Like it feels like, you know, the end of this movie is we find out that for whatever reason in the new version of Neo and Trinity is the one. That seems to be the what we've got here, and so the Wake Up cover is female fronted. I'm fine with that, but the problem is that the cover itself is so shit. Bad. And that speaks to me of everything else in this movie. Like, the first half hour aside, this is like a cover version, a bad cover version.
It's a tribute
of
band
the first
version.
Matrix. Yeah. This is the Noasis of movies. Like, it is... It's wild how far they decide to take this, like...
Yeah.
This odd, like, homage to their own work. Especially after that beginning. So let's set this up. The Matrix Resurrections is a movie that begins by postulating that the Matrix that we saw, the Matrix trilogy that we saw 20 to 10 years ago, I can't remember what the distance between those movies was, but beginning in 1999 was actually all a series of computer games made by a man called Thomas Anderson, also played by Keanu Reeves.
Yes. For the developer Deus Machina.
Yeah. I'm not even
owned by Warner Brothers.
Owned by Warner Brothers. Very specifically told to you that they are owned by Warner Brothers, which also, just think about that line for a second. Imagine sitting in, if we sat, me and you, in our office, and someone went, our owning company, Ziff Davis, want us to up traffic count. You'd be like, why are you saying Ziff Davis? We all know. Their name's on the building. Like, what
are you doing? And not only is this game company, like, he's an award-winning, I think he's described as the most famous game developer in the world.
He's Kojima.
He's got his game. He's won a game award. He's got Donald Mustard working as a developer for him.
Yeah, the Donald Mustard card. If you don't know Donald Mustard, he's the man that runs Fortnite. Why he's in this movie for a line, I don't know. I do know money, but I don't. And like a lucrative marketing deal in the Fortnite metaverse. But fuck me, it's embarrassing when he turns up.
But so they have this big sort of pitch meeting. This isn't even the open, because the open is quite confusing. We'll get onto that in a minute. But like, this open half an hour, it's like it's Keanu's struggling to think of his next game, and everyone's like, just do what made the Matrix great, like bullet time. And it's very meta, and the word meta is kind of tainted at the moment, but like
the
it is
place
meta
he's in is called meta.
Yeah, like, it is like meta in the real use of the word, and it's just, and that was the point where I was like, if they actually stick with this and they're gonna commit to the whole of that original trilogy just being a video game from someone's head, it would maybe taint that original a bit, but at the same time be like, do you know what? You had the balls to do that.
For a bit, it felt like it might actually be like a Charlie Kaufman action movie, which is an insane concept, and as proven by the first half hour of this movie, would probably not work. But you, like you say, you'd go with it and you'd be like, right, okay, they're doing something here. They're making a movie that no one has seen before, and they are building on their lore in the strangest possible way. And so going through that bit, I was kind of forgiving the fact that I've never seen Keanu Reeves act worse. Like,
oh god, he's awful.
There's bits in this that are like jokes about Keanu Reeves' acting from Keanu Reeves, I would have forgiven like this absolutely ham-handed idea that the new Morpheus is half Morpheus and half Agent Smith from another video game.
From the game.
That Keanu Reeves has made, that has been brought out of the video game by people from the Matrix, from the real world into the Matrix. Fuck me, who knows why they made that decision. But you would have been like, right, they're just going absolutely
they
insane.
Lawrence Fishburne, probably. Same reason they probably... Jonathan Groff is in it, who I think is perfectly good at being a villain, but they obviously couldn't get Hugo Weaving back.
I wonder why. Hugo Weaving didn't want to be in this movie. And Lawrence Fishburne, after he gave those quotes a while back where he's like, I don't know why they didn't talk to me. Like, lucky man. What a lucky guy. Like, not to be asked to come back for this.
I mean, why don't we move on to Morpheus, who does spend 90% of this film as some magnetic ball bearings.
As a pile of ball bearings. What the fuck?
So this is like the future where now they can bring AI into the human world via these ball bearings, so they can like slink through pipes and do stuff like that. But like even when they make the ball bearings version, they don't make him look like Lawrence Fishburne, which is what everyone knows Morpheus looks like. Yeah, he looks like Yahya Abdul-Mateen.
It's bizarre. I mean, right? Do we have to go back here and like? Because there is the chance that people are listening to this because they don't give a shit about the Matrix Resurrections, but they do want to know what happens. Right?
Have the Wikipedia open.
Yeah. So the bridge here is that after all this stuff, where you're like, we are getting an idea that in the world of whatever this is, Thomas Anderson has had a mental breakdown in which he starts believing that what happened in his games of the Matrix actually happened to him, and he is kind of subconsciously filling a world with his own experiences. This is to say nothing of the fact, by the way, that whenever they show footage of these video games, they are shots from the original films, which makes no fucking sense anyway. And then...
He's having these therapy sessions with Neil Patrick Harris, who it turns out is the new architect.
Yeah, eventually, he's the new architect. What's he called in this?
He's trying to the I don't know, the Swami prick.
Yeah,
I don't know. So he's basically trying to keep him in this version of the Matrix and to keep up the illusion, basically. It's a Truman Show-esque thing where everyone's kind of trying to keep Neo in this Matrix kind of thing.
It is a new Matrix designed by a new architect who looks like Doogie Howser. And then this new character, Bugs, turns up, breaks out the fake Morpheus from a sub-level Inception fucking bullshit level of the Matrix, brings him in to convince Neo that he's in the Matrix again, and then breaks him out again into the real world.
That's the thing I was trying to work out. Should say actually, Bugs is played by Jessica Henwick, who I actually thought was quite good. I enjoyed.
She's just charming.
She's very fun.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Is that an extra layer of the Matrix, or were they inside the code of the game?
They're inside his code in the game in the Matrix. So he's essentially created a sub-Matrix within his own Matrix.
Has he constantly designed that, or is that still the architect design? Who knows? That's too much thought to put into that. But yeah, so they've been spending years at this point trying to find Neo because they believe Neo is still alive after the events of Revolutions. We don't have time to go through what happened in Revolutions. No one has time.
Suffice to say, he did fucking die. Like, we knew he died.
But he's not. He's dead. And he's being kept in one of the gelatinous pods about 20 yards away from Cariamos because they have to be close but not too close.
They have to be close but no cigar, I believe is the term. There's this quite ham-fisted attempt to explain that the original Matrix was built on energy created by plugged-in beings who just want to live their lives normally, and that creates enough energy. But then in the new Matrix, it's got all the normal people, but specifically the thwarted love of Neo and Trinity being kept apart but together creates the most energy.
Enough power. It's just the power of love.
Don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know. But they managed to successfully get Neo out but leave Trinity there the first time round.
Yeah.
Which is a big mistake. It could have just done that all in one go, would have been fine.
Yeah, and
Yeah. Is it me or are the machines just a lot stupider and less of a threat now? Like,
much worse.
They used to be terrifying. Like, they managed to just sneak into like their big home city, steal someone without them knowing quite easily.
Like in all things with a franchise that has to increase in scope and scale and threat.
Yeah.
Like in the first movie, like 3 of those squids were the scariest thing in the world, and by this one, like entire like enormous fucking crowds of these things pose absolutely no threat because you can sneak behind them.
Yeah.
Like it's bonkers.
So, from that half an hour, that the core plot of the film starts, which the whole film basically is centered around. It's a love story, really. I suppose it's Neo trying to rescue Trinity from this new Matrix where she's completely forgotten. She's just completely blue pilled it. Basically, she's in there.
What's she called?
And her name is
Tiffany.
Tiffany.
Yeah.
Tiffany, yes, which is close to Trinity, but again, no cigar.
Yeah.
And she has kids and a husband who
Chad. He's literally called Chad.
Yep. And they kind of meet a couple times in a coffee shop. Keanu's quite creepy. Oh, he's assisted by his developer friend, who's one of the most irritating screen presences I've seen in a long time.
It's like the worst possible version of what's his mate in True Lies? You know Arnold Tom Arnold. You know Arnold Schwarzenegger as Tom Arnold is like his guy in the chair in that. Like it's the worst version of Tom Arnold you've ever seen.
And a really awkward, like slightly creepy Keanu says like, "Oh, I know you" or something, and she's like smitten by him suddenly and wants to chat with him over coffee for a couple hours. And then what happens? I've noted a lot of things down here. Like there's a few times where my head hit my hands.
Yeah, the center of this movie is essentially a completely stationary plot where several things happen for almost no reason. So, like, the crew goes back to a new human city where they live in harmony with some escaped machines, which is there. I don't know why it's there. I don't know what any of that offers, because when they go there, they get imprisoned and immediately leave, despite being imprisoned. Niobe is there from the second 2 Matrix movies, but she's old.
Really batter an eyelid that Morpheus is back in Ball Bearings form and doesn't look like Morpheus.
Yeah, bonkers. And like is kind of angry at Neo for like basically just like absolute MacGuffin reasons. What else happens? They go in. One of the best fight scenes, but one of the worst scenes is they go in and meet all the exiled programs from Reloaded and Revolutions, and fucking the Merovingian turns back up and is literally shouting about wanting a spin-off.
I want my franchise spin-off.
Yeah. And I will say, like, that's one of the best fight scenes, and it's not that good compared to, like, there is no fight scene in this movie
good
that
because
matches.
they literally copy and paste fight moves from the originals into like that basement scene.
Because of course Keanu still knows kung fu.
Of course he does.
That's one of the lines where your head hit your hands.
Yep, and about 2 minutes later, the equivalent of Link in this film just fist bumps a robot.
Yeah,
that really did do my head in.
I think the thing I came out of, this is particularly with regard to the action scenes, is like, anyone who's listened to this podcast knows that I love Marvel movies, right? I think they're great. But they have so much to answer for in this movie, because what's happened is that they're the sanitized version of an action movie that works for the MCU because it is a tone that covers 20-something movies, has been essentially like ripped off and implanted on top of the Matrix. You watch the first Matrix and it's like, it's quite grotty. Like, no part of that world, in the fake world or the real world, looks nice. And the action feels heavy. There's blood. Everyone's dirty. Like, nothing about that place. The only clean place in that entire movie is like fake world that is neither the real world nor the Matrix world. And you could get into all sorts of philosophical reasons for this. We don't need to. This movie has this like real clean sheen over everything. Even in the real world, it looks basically kind of shiny and nice. And none of the action feels right. There's a lot of CG fighting. You know, like
just a lot of quips.
The first
that was
movie,
never in the original Matrix. Like little one-liners from like obviously influenced by the Marvel films where people just make little one-liners, and like that was never happened. They're making like. At the start, it kind of makes sense if they're making little meta references because it was all happening in the Matrix.
Yeah.
But they're making these little meta references and one-liners when they're back in the real world. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Like, where they're meant to be having, like, the worst time. Like, things are going really badly, and everyone's still making little jokes and fist bumps, and, like, Keanu Reeves is trying to take off but not being able to fly, and, like...
Oh, God.
There's all these moments that feel like someone's... Like, the script got punched up. You know how they have people go into Marvel movies and go, right, your job is, as a comedian, to add comedy to this action script. And, like, it feels like someone did that to The Matrix Resurrections for no reason. There's no reason for this movie to have those jokes. There's no reason for it to have CG fight scenes when the entire point of those first movies is they were recreating Hong Kong action cinema, and they had a real fight choreographer and wire work and all this stuff. And you're like, it's just bonkers to me that we have... all these decisions made that seem to fundamentally compromise. If this is the cover version, why are you not covering how that movie looked and was made and felt in the first place, rather than just plot points and memes? Like,
I wanted to think this film was being made because Lana Wachowski had this incredible idea, and like everyone was backing like Keanu and Carrie Moss were like, "This is a great idea. We want to right the wrongs they've ended up wrong in the wrongs, but right in the wrongs of what went wrong with the third film." But no, it just like I spent most of this film going, this is just cynical. Like I didn't like it. And like I forgot to mention when you mentioned Chad, the husband, he's actually played by Chad Stahelski, who is the director of John Wick.
Oh, I did not know that.
Like he's playing someone called Chad. Like I think he was the stunt coordinator on the originals.
Yes,
so there's kind of like that weird meta thing going on there as well.
Right.
Like,
so I thought the Chad thing was just a joke about a big hench guy that a nerd doesn't like. But this, like, I am absolutely sure that some people will come out of this and they will go, all the stuff that I consider wrong, all these moments of like, we are self-consciously recreating memes, will be taken in a different way, which I understand, but I can't empathize with, which is some people will see this as like a self-referential, almost a comedy about making a sequel to The Matrix. But I just don't see it. By the end of this movie, all I see is someone who doesn't have the ideas to carry through a fourth Matrix film. I don't see this as a clever, self-referential wink and a nod. But I don't, because everyone will put... There's one scene that I genuinely... As someone who has digested and indeed written a lot of bullshit about like academia about the Matrix, like I got for a period of my life, I was super into the Matrix as a philosophical text, right? Because I am a dork, and there's a whole scene that is literally recreating the kind of tiresome dialogue that I would have at university about that first movie, where it's people like the Matrix is about. Like trans representation. The Matrix is about this, and then you have someone else going, no, the Matrix is just good kung fu, like action game stuff. And then you have this like dialogue between those two warring sides, and then you have people going, oh, well, it doesn't matter because it's about this, and all that stuff, and it gives you all this. It gives you that moment of self-referential, like we are kind of wrapping our heads around the legacy or the multiple legacies of the original Matrix movie. And at that point, I was like, right, this is the joke of this film. This is the smart thinking around how the fuck do you possibly follow up on the Matrix? And then quite shortly after that, you just have the joke about like, he doesn't want to be making the Matrix 4, but someone's forcing him to. And that's when it all falls apart. Or actually, that may be slightly before it. But either way, like having those two scenes next to each other doesn't make sense. Because when you start making fun of the fact that you have to make this and you don't want to, it all falls apart. This is not a movie about smart, self-referential thinking. This is at best a cheap remake. And that's it.
Well, that's the thing. Like, if the original, you could enjoy it in so many ways. Whether you just wanted a really cool action film, you had that. You had some of the best fight scenes ever filmed. If you wanted a really like meta-textual conversation about something, you had that. With this, you're not... I don't think I could recommend this as a good action film because the action scenes aren't very innovative. they're recycled, and there's not that many of them really.
No.
There's only a handful. Like, is this a 2.5 hour film? A lot of it is people talking about nonsense and stuff they're trying to make you care about, which I just couldn't care less. Like, we're recording this actually 3 minutes before reviews drop for this film, and I'm intrigued to see what the reaction is, because like I think this is bad, and I don't want people to not enjoy. If you enjoy it, good for you. Like, have a great time, enjoy it. But like, I've seen that a lot of people are so invested, like so many people hyped up by these trailers. Like, I feel it's going to be a real like Phantom Menace scenario where some people for the next year or so are going to convince themselves that this is a good film, and it is just not a good film.
I think it's possible to enjoy this film on its own terms. I think if you went into it and just went like, here's the silly bit at the start, here's some fight scenes, here's an ending that does something that the first movie didn't, to an extent. I think you could kind of go on it as like this idea of here is a new Matrix action movie. But I truly cannot understand thinking that this is like a worthy successor to the first Matrix, which it outwardly says it wants to be.
If we're doing a ranking, like I've slagged this off so much, I'd still probably say it's better than Revolutions. It's not as good as Reloaded. Like, I think, like if I was to score the Matrix films, like the first one's a 9 or a 10, like probably a 10.
Damn right.
Second one, 5 or 6.
Yeah, 6. I reckon.
Revolutions, 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And this same like 4. Like, the first one is still the only good one. Like that, and that's the shame. I feel people wanted like could this be as good as the first one? For a moment, people had that hope, and it's just within 2.5 hours, it's gone.
I was truly excited for this movie, but I never went into it excited for a movie as good as The Matrix. I went into it, like I said on this podcast, like 2 months ago, I think, or whenever the first trailer came out. I hope this is a film about Keanu Reeves, the actor, having been put back in the Matrix and realizing.
And we weren't far away.
Matrix. We were pretty bang on, except it didn't have the courage of those convictions to run with that joke. It just became another Matrix movie. And when you get to the point where, and again, I'm so sure that people will argue as this as being like a clever satire, but I just don't think it is. When you're giving me plot points that are like, how it has a mystery all the way through, like how are Neo and Trinity here? We know they're dead. Yeah. And the answer is a machine worked out how to make them again. You're like, oh, fuck you.
Well,
like, kind of that is such a cop-out.
They try, and they even asked the question, like, I think Keanu asked the question, like, so everything I did was for nothing? So it basically made the whole trilogy worthless. And they were like, not completely worthless. Like, some of the machines are good now, but a lot of them are still bad. Yeah. So it's like nothing's really changed.
It does nothing to accentuate
they can grow
the
strawberries
original
now.
Movies. Yeah, they've got some strawberries. Like, it does nothing to accentuate the original movies, and it doesn't use the original movies to become more interesting. Like, it is, to me, it is a straight failure as an experiment in how you make a fourth Matrix movie. And like, and that's compounded by the ending. Like, we see at the end, Trinity becomes the one. And again, instead of doing anything interesting with that, instead of trying to make a point, they make a few jokes about Neil Patrick Harris's character being a sexist.
Yeah.
And then they fly off to the exact same song as the original.
Like we said, Michelle, I'm sure, I don't know, because the Wachowskis have never explicitly said the original is about trans issues. Like, there's no deep subtext there. I don't know in this fourth one whether that ending is very much like symbolic. The one is now a female. Like, I wasn't even sure if Trinity is now the one or if they're both combined the one. Like, their love means they're now both all powerful.
It's not a film interested in telling you that. It's just a film interested in
that
the
last
final
50
joke.
minutes. It doesn't explain anything really. Like, so he awakens Trinity. Like, she just shouts. Like, she just suddenly awakens. There's no real explanation of why she now awakens. I don't know. Like, that last 50 minutes is so messy. I'm just like, I don't know what really. And they kind of lead it off. Like, not only does the Merovingian ask for a spin-off, which God forbid that ever happens, but like, they leave the door open for another one. Like, I don't know if I can handle another one.
Yeah, it's like I will watch any new Matrix thing that comes out, but I will have no belief that we'll ever get back to a place where it means anything more than the original, or anything on top of the original even. Like, it's a real mess. It's a real mess and a shame, because, like we've said, there is the kernel of an idea in here that for about 20 to 30 minutes is genuinely interesting and could have been something, and it just isn't. It's a real shame.
Yeah. But you know what? If you enjoyed it, please don't be angry with us, but do let us know at IGN_.
And that's it. We're not angry at you. We're not laughing at you. Like, there's nothing about that here. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I just don't understand what they were thinking. And to me, this is just a film that falls apart badly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, real shame.
Yeah.
Oh well, I'm just gonna watch the first movie again.
I don't need. I'm gonna watch something else. I'm just gonna. That Unreal 5 tech demo was all right for 10 minutes.
Like, as I played it, it's genuinely a better joke than the Matrix Resurrections. Like, them self-consciously discussing their own movie while being inside a new version of that movie is better storytelling than the Matrix Resurrections. That is damning. Like, that's absolutely wild.
I'm sure we'll talk about this film again, not in as much depth, because I'm sure, I can't wait for, I'm sure Matt and Dale, I know they're planning on seeing the next few days. I'm sure they'll have things they want to get off their chest. It is, I think, we were allowed to tweet initial reactions like a week ago. I tweeted, "It's a mess, a highly fascinating mess, but a mess on the way." It is fascinating. I'm glad it exists, just because I just wish the risks it took, it just followed through with that risk. Like, if it was an hour and a half game dev film, that would have been funny to me. But,
yeah,
who knows? I mean, at least Jeff Keighley didn't pop up, as far as we know.
Yeah.
His Game Award did.
Oh,
I was funny. When they showed that first Donald Mustard cameo, I was waiting for... So they go to Tokyo, I was waiting for Kojima to be on that train. I was waiting for Jeff Keighley I was waiting for the whole crew to be there.
Do you think the people who licensed the Game Awards to the Matrix Resurrections knew that the scene they would use it in was a scene in which Keanu Reeves has just received a Game Award and then tries to kill himself? Like,
it's not a good look for the Game Awards.
It's not a good look at all. Wild choice.
No.
Yeah, God.
But then, when she looks at him, he looks like a really bald old man. Because everyone looks different. Yeah,
apparently. We didn't even talk about that. There's so much more we didn't talk about.
No. But Agent Smith's... I don't even fully understand the Agent Smith stuff.
No,
so I don't want to talk about it.
It's because the only reason for it is Hugo Weaving didn't want to come back. It's so obvious. Like, they can make all the excuses they want about Agent Smith looking different in this. But the reason Jonathan Groff plays him is because Hugo Weaving was like, no fucking way. Yeah. I'm better as an elf. See you later.
I do like Jonathan Groff a lot, though. I thought he's very good at being evil. He's no Hugo Weaving. He doesn't have that same... But when he does shout... Mr. Anderson, he's good at that.
Right.
He's good at shouting Mr. Anderson.
He's
good in that bit where it's raining indoors. That looks good. That was kind of obviously echoing the Morpheus jump off to the helicopter thing.
Are you just trying to think of good bits now?
I'm just trying to think of anything redeeming that I liked. Like I said, Jess Hammett was fun. What did I like? I don't know. That's probably. Do you know what? I will say, I did get tingles when it started because that unique Matrix intro with the music and the going through the
that's good stuff.
That is very good.
It's weird. It's almost like one of the best bits in that movie was them self-consciously recreating beat by beat the start of the first movie. That's interesting that. Yeah.
Well, there we go. We went on for over half an hour in the end.
Yeah. Soz.
Okay.
We're really sorry
Merry
if
Christmas.
you wanted to like the Matrix Resurrections. We did too. And could not find our way to do that.
Second best resurrection after Jesus Christ on Easter, not on Christmas. Shows how much I know about Christmas.
I also think that's very harsh on other resurrection narratives.
Nah. Well, I mean,
apart from the first Matrix movie where there is literally a resurrection in it and a Christ metaphor.
Oh well. What a shame.
Sorry, the Matrix.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's go out
Well,
on
should-
Wake
should-
Up
should
Again.
play- Which version?
The new one. No,
no,
I'm never
God,
listening to that new
God,
one again.
No. Hoover, he was a body remover. Remember that.
Yeah.
Take that to your grave.
Yeah.
Okay. Goodbye.
Bye.
How long? Not long! Cause what you reap is what you sow!
Ladies and gentlemen,
What are you doing?
what do you mean? I'm
Just
making.
keep it simple.
I'm making the promo.
Just keep it simple. Just say, hey, we're the Brav Bros. Two guys that talk about Bravo.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're the Brav Bros.
No,
Oh,
dude, stop with the voice. Just
The
keep it simple.
I've seen promos on TV, dude. This is how you get the fans engaged. This is how you get listeners. We're trying to get listeners here. If we just say, oh, we're two dudes that talk about Bravo, people are going to get tired of it already. We need some oomph.
All right, then fine. Let's try to do it with your voice.
Brav Bros.
Good job.
Hello, I am Kristen Russo.
And I am Jenny Owen Youngs.
We are the hosts of Buffering the Vampire Slayer once more with Spoilers, a rewatch podcast covering all 144 episodes of, you guessed it, Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
We are here to humbly invite you to join us for our 5th Buffy prom, which, if you can believe it, we are hosting at the actual Sunnydale High School. That's right. On April 4th and 5th, we will be descending upon the campus of Torrance High School, which was the filming location for Buffy's Sunnydale High, to dance the night away to 90s music in the iconic courtyard, to sip on punch right next to the Sunnydale High fountain, and to nerd out together in our prom best inside of the set of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
All information and tickets can be found at bufferingcast.com/prom. Come join us.